Hello lovely people, it's Candy here. Finally crawled out of my 3-4 day sick bed, having felt so poorly and yeah, just knocked about. Still don't feel right, but feeling better, thank goodness. So I haven't been doing any Vlogmas prompts, so I thought I would catch up today from 11 to 14. Please be aware guys that on day 14 I do begin to talk about my eating disorder, so if that triggers you or any talk about weight, then please do perhaps skip day 14 or this video in its entirety. Day 11, gingerbread. What should you indulge in? My absence shows you what I've been indulging in. I've been indulging in rest, recuperation, not pushing myself, and going back to bed whenever I could. So that's why I'm behind on the prompts. Day 12, Rudolph. What light do you bring to the darkness is day 12. Now, I have always got my fairy lights on, and my fairy lights are not just Christmas lights, they're up there all year long. Now, I've spoken before about lights, about fairy lights and the use of fairy lights, and how fairy lights really helped me in the darkness when I was in one of my darkest places in my life, and my house was suddenly a completely different place. I got through those dark days and those traumas by buying fairy lights and putting them around the house. It was one of the small things that I did that just gave me enough of a ledge to get a finger hold on to stop myself from slipping. And I coined it fairy light therapy, because to walk in a room with beautiful lighting and all twinkly, it was harder to give up with fairy lights around, and it really helped me. And I know it sounds quite glib, but in the darkest of my days I used fairy lights, and that's why I still have loads of lights around now. So hopefully that's an example of how to just keep going in the worst of times. And because I am quite open on my channel, hopefully it inspires somebody else who might also be going through a really dark time to just take it one step at a time, one fairy light at a time, and just to make it through. Day 13 is Scrooge. Where could you use more love, either to have or to give? Now, for me, it just screamed self-love, this day's prompt. And when I asked you guys how I could tempt you and what things you'd like to see next year on the channel, somebody said like self-love, things to do with self-love, and the inner child cards as well, working with these. And it was going to be my focus anyway, so I'm really going to hone in on that. So working with decks like this, the inner child cards, inner child work as well. I've also got the inner child cards workbook, which you can work through. It's different to the guidebook, so that I think I might focus on. And I've also got the lovely Lisa's book here, The Self-Worth Path, which I bought when she released it. However, I want to work through it in 2022 and work through it a chapter at a time, a month at a time, so ongoing throughout the month, which I can share as well. And I know Lisa's got a playlist as well. So the focus really is going to be on self-love. Another book I've got started working with yet either is the Andy Matzner's Tarot for Transformation. This is a really big book, and it's got loads of different exercises in. So that is all going to be a focus for me, my year to come, and the channel, because of course I just share what I do coming up, so hopefully that will interest people. And then lastly, number 14 is ornament. I couldn't even read my own writing then. What holds you up that you don't think much about? this, just wait for the washing machine to finish beeping. This, without a shadow of a doubt, is what actually physically holds me up, my body. And I haven't thought much about it over the years because I've hated my body over the years, which is a really strong and sad and tragic thing to say, because our bodies do so much for us beyond their aesthetic quality. Just the fact they hold us up and keep us going. And I'm 53 now, and my body has been through so much abuse in my lifetime, and yet still I berate it for not being the aesthetic that I want, not being the size that I want, and throwing no self-love at it at all. This links to day 13 as well. Where could I use more love? So it's going to be my focus for the year coming, not only to give it more love now, but to try and nurture my body more, to move more, to stretch more, to start exercising again. When my divorce finalised, which was a very long divorce, it was a 4 to 5 year really painful divorce, the curveballs that were thrown constantly during that time kept me so busy and fretful, and to and from solicitors, and trying to refute lies and bring evidence and calmness to the mix, that I had no time to process the pain of what I was going through. It was only on the morning after the final divorce hearing where a wonderful judge looked at me and said, I'm not going to make you wait a second longer for these court documents to be rubber stamped. I'm doing it now in court, which my lawyer whispered in my ear, this never happens. So when I walked out of that court on the final day, everything was done. There was no paperwork to wait for. It was done. It was finished. But the following morning I woke up and I went back to the fridge and my eating disorder light clicked on, and I knew immediately that it was back. Having had 20 years free of it, it was back. I think because there was no longer the busyness of divorce to keep my mind active and distracted from the pain, I think it was a tidal wave of pain that swept in on me, and my subconscious knew it was coming before even my consciousness, and I found myself at the fridge eating before I could even do anything about it, and it hasn't stopped since. So I think it's time to sit in some emotion that is obviously underneath a comfort blanket of weight gain. And it's going to be hard because I'm really entrenched in a repetitive cycle now of self-abandonment and not appreciating what's holding me up. So I have a battle ahead, and I understand that I have a battle ahead, but it is a battle that I want to take on. Now I have a couple of decks to help me with that battle that have proved so far this month to be really impacting. That's the Black Lily Tarot and also the Earthbound Oracle. Both of these were gifts and birthday gifts from a really dear friend of mine. She doesn't know yet that I've started pairing them and started putting charms on them, which has been mind-blowing. So I forget who it was, somebody in one of my Vlogmas videos said, just don't wait for boxes, just start throwing charms on top of your readings. Oh my goodness me, what brilliant advice that is. This was a reading I've just done yesterday with these, but I am going to put these cards back in and I am going to pull a card now for ornament For what holds you up that you don't think much about, in homage to my body and the battle that I am about to embark upon, not only getting back to health and running and hiking, which I miss terribly, but also as a celebration of the fact this body is still going, which amazes me. I've got a card there that is just not going back in. It's the Knight of Swords. And I'm still too poorly not to cry about the fact that I've pulled the Knight of Swords. Now, as you know, and I've spoken about this so often on this channel, the Knight of Swords for me is what I class as my narcissistic card. It is the energy, it is the card that if I could show a tarot card ramming and beating me into the place I am now, that put all the challenge and the hurt and the pain on my head, it is this card. So to pull the Knight of Swords for this is huge. It's a confirmation of me of why I'm here, but also I also said that the Muse Tarot had started to help me reclaim this card. And in my filming for Sylvan's 7 Deadly Sins tag, also the Knight of Swords in the Crow Tarot, it reminded me that Knight of Swords energy is also the fight of the Morrigan, and it was the Morrigan that came to me in my divorce battle. I'm really keen to see what this little book says about the Knight of Swords in this deck. It says logic and reason, keen intellect that grasps the fine points of any subject, speaking clearly, directly and with authority, a judgment free of emotion, lucid analysis of problems and solutions, being tactless and rude, feeling superior, having no tolerance, no appreciation for emotions. So the no appreciation for emotions is what pushed me here, and emotional abuse. So no appreciation of emotions, that emotional abuse is what pushed me here and through the journey of the last decade. But taking authority back and clear thinking and logic and not letting emotions push me into repeating circles, that's the way out. I can embrace the self-loving energy of this card rather than remaining a victim of the extreme narcissistic energy of this card. So that was really impactful to pull. Let's put this self card back in the Earthbound Oracle. Let's just pull an oracle as well to go with this one. Failure. I like the fact that the wings on this moth mirror the wings on this creature, so there is failure within this card. It depends which end of the stick you burn. This was the energy that pushed me into a failing, repetitive, self-abandoning cycle. But how about burning the other end of the stick and using this same energy to step out into something new? So these are the 2 decks that I've been using to think more about this body of mine that still hasn't given up, although I'm sure it has wanted to many a time. Just grabbed a handful of charms out of my charm box without looking, and I've just thrown charms down, and look at this. For a start, you've got a little squirrel with a heart at the end of the sword, and I think that's a homage to you, Brian, over at Papa Squirrel for Vlogmas. I really do. I think you got in here. Then look at the way this safety pin has joined the two. I think it's about mending, because you use safety pins to join and to mend my relationship with myself and the ways that I think I fail and my lack of self-love and my self-abandonment and all of those patterns of abuse that I hurl at myself. By flipping the energy of the Knight of Swords, this is no longer about what was done to me. This is about taking on responsibility. Everything now is on me. It's about realizing that in that self-responsibility and in that being in charge now of what happens moving forward, I can flip this energy away from what was done to me to what I choose now to do to myself, and to cloak myself as a Morrigan warrior and to step into battle and healing, this final section of healing. And I love the fact that there are there's wings, angel wings here, and there's a bird here. There's wings. It's freedom, it's flight. There's flight lifting off. It's lifting off into a Celtic cross. I think that's a call to the Morrigan again, to that sort of Celtic path that I'm on, to that strength from deity. There is a way out. This is Morrigan energy now. And over here you've got a chain leading to a wise owl and glasses, study and wisdom. There is a call to wisdom, to logic, perhaps to study. This again links to the idea that this card, it can be used as just clear, rational thinking without being drowned by emotion, so that I'm in control now. It's not what was done to me and being lost in the emotion of being emotionally abused, but it's about stepping into strength and logically thinking, what do I need? This is the logic. So you can see there what I'm saying about these charms now being thrown onto a reading. It's just like, it's everything. I love it. So wow, what a catch up that turned out to be. I wasn't, to be honest, expecting any of that. I wasn't expecting to overshare. I hope you find some of that interesting or useful or just entertaining. So thanks guys, that's my day 11 to day 14. I'll be back tomorrow with the Chariot, and thank you Brian for hosting Vlogmas. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye.